Well, from one earnings to the other, let's welcome on board Chintan Thakkar, the CFO at Info Edge India, joining in on the show right now. Chintan, hi, morning. Let's first start with the recruitment business. Solid growth clearly continues, but you did flag that there is some normalization in IT hiring. Throw some more light on this. I mean, define normalized environment, because it could be a lot different from what's happening in the Western geographies, I'm guessing.
Look, if you look at recruitment last 5 quarters, like we have been growing at 60% plus. And that tells you about the kind of growth that we are seeing overall in the recruitment market. As compared to that, we have kind of, if you look at the trend line, we have come down from 60% to now 40 plus kind of, So that's kind of showing you what, what the trend lines are. Right? I would still think that, the overall growth rates are still kind of, high, 40% plus is not, kind of, a low growth. But at the same time, looking at the trend line, we think that, this is something which, gradually will start kind of cooling down. Right? And as you know that from the overall growth for us, the IT piece itself is almost like 50%, 50% plus. I think that's the large part of our overall business.
Okay, so growth rate has come down in 2 quarters. What could the growth rate be at going forward? Will 40% come down to 30% or even further lower?
US market, Western world, or even if you look at the top large IT companies in India, I think they are far more subdued. So as going by that, we think that yes, 40% can, be 35, be 30. As I said that, look, I think we can keep on, estimating that. The other key, aspect of IT hiring particularly is that when there's a surge, it's a quick, sharp, rise. At the same time, when decline also happens, it's almost always kind of, very sharp decline. Unlike the industries like manufacturing or capital goods or infrastructure, where there's a total cycle of, investment in land, capital, plant and machinery, right? All that, and then the employment comes. So I think it's a very longish kind of cycle. In tech industry, you can see a sudden kind of, spike and decline, right? So we have seen all these headlines, but if you look at, all the commentary, just last 2 or 3 days in the US market, the tech stocks have again kind of, risen. And again, the industry, there are some kind of comments coming that, okay, whatever was to happen have happened. And now probably the tech industry will again start consuming much more. So that's why it becomes very, very difficult to really predict it, right? On some level, you can say that like slowing down, but when you look at particularly India market in this kind of geopolitical environment, where the captives are growing faster. So there are some bright spots within the IT industry as well. So that makes it a little harder to really predict it where it will.
So, given that there have been so many headlines when it comes to layoffs, delayed hiring, what is the situation and what is your perspective on the same? Does it mean to a certain extent that attrition has come off?
Yeah. So look, layoffs, if you look at in absolute numbers, still looking at the overall larger market, it's not kind of very significant. But what happens is that because of layoff, that musical chair that was getting played, right? When the startups were kind of hiring people and in a very sudden kind of a way, there's this whole shifting of the attrition rate that was kind of going up for all the companies, right? Now that probably would slow down, and that would have an overall impact. But as I said that, look, on the one hand, there is this layoff happening. On the other hand, we are also seeing the trend where the captives are hiring more in larger and larger captive centers coming in India. And when I hear stories from the large companies in the US, they're saying that, look, if you want to have a captive of 500 people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, there is no real competition to India. There are some small captive centers. Yes, there is a competition from Vietnam, Philippines, and other places like that. But if you want 500 people, 1,000 people, still India is the best destination for them. So there are certain pockets of growth also which compensates for the or offsets for the for whatever the layoff that's happening, particularly in the startup world.
Now, real estate billing as well was good, but EBITDA losses continue. Do you think this is due to the higher A&P spend, and will this likely continue?
Yeah, so you are right. The losses are because of the higher spend and that will continue because we are seeing a rise in both cyclical movement of real estate vertical, and probably it will last for a longer period. And actually the billing growth does not really give you the full story, because when you look at the operating metrics in terms of how the number of responses are growing and the brokers and clients listings are growing, in fact it's much faster. So we do believe that we have more headroom to grow in real estate.
Right. Great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out.